Hey guys, welcome to Cigar Church, where our passion for cigars and our love for Jesus come together in a beautiful way, and we are smoking cigars.
So happy
Today, I was so happy. That last episode was great. I love smoking the pipes. It is hard to smoke a pipe and talk.
It is work.
And it's a lot more work.
It is.
So we are back to smoking cigars. Hey, Dan.
Hey.
What are we smoking today, brother?
Why, I'm glad you asked, Clay. We're smoking. So we're smoking the Don Pepin, Garcia Vegas Cubanas Corona. It's a medium to a full cigar. It's got some cedar notes and earthy notes, kind of an earthy.
Yeah.
Made by my father. It's a really good cigar. If you've never had the Don Pepin line, that's really.
And it is pronounced Don Pepin, not Don Pepin, as I've said a million times on camera. It is Don Pepin Garcia, which is Ami Garcia's father's name. He started the line after his dad to honor his dad, who was a cigar roller in Cuba, if I remember correctly, from the age of 11 on. Wow. I mean, I was still playing with G.I. Joes at 11, and here Don Pepin Garcia was rolling cigars in Cuba. So, yeah, his life has been more purposeful than mine at times. But, man, this is a really delicious cigar.
Is that first note you get?
First note that I get is smoke, because we just finished those pipes. my taste palate's a little bit off.
I bet cedar.
There's definitely a cedar note right off the bat. And cedar can be overpowering when you're smoking a cigar.
It can.
But it's
Punching you a little bit.
punching you a little. Is this your first time having this one?
I've had it before.
Okay. One of the reasons we're all smoking it is because one thing we do here at Cigar Church Members Lounge is we do a VIP pack for our members that want that level. They get a bigger locker, and they also get a 4-pack of cigars every month in that locker. And the intent of those 4 cigars, we put a date on each one of them in the package. And on that date, we want to smoke that with you and talk about the cigar, but also do what we call cut light Bible study. And so we all smoke the same cigar. We all dig into a passage in Scripture and just study the Word for a little bit. And so that's what we want to do today. So we are smoking a fine cigar, and we're going to look at the Word. And the text that we have chosen for today is a great parable. And we're just going to read this parable and then talk about it as we go, all right? This parable is found in Luke chapter 17, starting in verse 11. And it's the parable of 10 lepers who were healed. Not leopards.
Oh, why
Not lepers.
I'd misread that. I thought we were talking about calves.
No. Leprosy, man, let's talk about this for a second before we dig into this, because leprosy was a really nasty disease that created sores on your body. Body parts would fall off, like fingers and feet and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. It was extremely contagious, so it was considered unclean under the law. And so if you had leprosy, you were completely exiled from society. You weren't able to go in. And there was these leper colonies, some small, some large, of people who had leprosy that just kind of did life together as they prepared themselves to die. And so leprosy was a horrible thing.
I'm thinking being St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. Yeah, what'd you call it? World. How's that talking to that? No, I'm just thinking, you know what you call a fake leper? At the leprechaun.
Oh, gosh. If you would like to put a comment below addressing...
I don't know why it's a humor. Tickle the bell makes sense.
I took the bell.
I never promised to be Norman.
Wow. And let's just end the episode there. No, but we want to look at this story of 10 lepers who are healed by Jesus. And so we are at Luke chapter 17, starting in verse 11. It says, on the way to Jerusalem, we had somebody just come in the lounge, and that's okay. So we're going to shut the door to the office, our recording studio. It's all good. That's what we love about here. I mean, we get to interact with a lot of people, and it's also a recording studio. So let's get back to the text. Verse 11 says, on the way to Jerusalem, talking about Jesus, he was passing along between Samaria and Galilee. And as he entered a village, he was met by 10 lepers who stood at a distance and lifted up their voices, saying, and before we get there, here's what's really cool to me about this story. You have these desperate 10 men who have leprosy, But even in their desperation, they're following the law. They're being faithful servants. They are doing what they're told to do. They're staying at a distance instead of encroaching upon Jesus and violating the law. They're still being faithful. And so they stand at a distance and lift up their voices saying, Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. When he saw them, he also said to them, go and show yourselves to the priests. And as they went, they were cleansed. Not right there on the spot. Jesus didn't lay hands on them or spit on them as he did with others when he healed vision and that kind of thing. But he just said, go and show yourselves to the priests. And they were cleansed on the way there. Then one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back praising with a loud voice, and he fell on his face at Jesus' feet, giving him thanks. Now he was a Samaritan. Then Jesus answered, were not 10 cleansed? Where are the 9? Was no one found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner, talking about him being a Samaritan? Then he said to him, rise and go your way. Your faith has made you well. Gosh, there's so much to unpack.
Yeah.
What are some of your thoughts, gentlemen?
Every time I read this, I think the blaring question that happens is what actually happened to the other 9? When we talk, because because it says at the end that he was made clean, but it talks about but it never said the other 9 suddenly their leprosy came back and it was
And I don't think that it did.
I don't think it did either.
The question that always comes up for me is they were still being faithful to the law. They were going back to the priest to show themselves to be clean, which is what was prescribed in the law for them to do so that the priest could declare them as clean so they can enter into society.
Yeah.
And please forgive my trespass here if I step too far, but there are sometimes that following the law to the letter in a legalistic way is less favorable than gratitude toward Christ. And that's not me trying to say go out and sin. That's not me saying go out and violate the law. But clearly what Jesus is declaring to the one who came back and gave gratitude for the cleansing is that there was something special about what he did when the other 9 didn't. And
He went above and beyond.
yeah, he went above and beyond. And what's beautiful in this story is it's not one of the lepers that had a Jewish background. It's one of the Samaritans. And if you know anything about the Samaritans, they were what the Jews would call a half-breed. They were half Jewish and half Gentile. And so they weren't even considered to be a holy people. And when there was tension between the Jewish people and the Samaritans because of that. And here's somebody who shouldn't know the heart of God as much as the Jewish lepers is the one who realizes the heart of God more and comes back and shows gratitude towards Christ for this healing.
And how many times did Jesus use the Samaritans as an example? Yeah. We see it over and over and over again. And I definitely think that
He's teaching us.
Yeah, I mean, I really do. I think that he really wanted to make that point clear.
Yeah. And the beauty of this is that gratitude reveals true faith. How many times do we go to the Lord when we need him to do something? Whether it's prayer, we go to church when life's down, we go to our pastor and want to talk. And when life's hard, we definitely seek out God. But when God responds to that and answers our prayer in a favorable way and blesses us, how often are we just so quick to get back to our own life and not go back to Christ and say, thank you. Thank you. It's no secret the three of us in different roles in our lives have been going through some pretty heavy stuff. And if you're close to us, you know the depth of some of that. And oftentimes, as God has blessed me and my wife, or me and my kids, or some of the things that we've been going through, my family, I have to intentionally remind myself that when God blesses in the midst of struggle and in the midst of pain, not just to sit back and rest and go, recognize that God did that, and that it's important for us to go back to Him and say thank you and to praise and worship Him. Reminds me of another story of Paul and Silas in the book of Acts, where they get arrested for preaching the gospel.
and they're sitting locked up in the dungeon of the prison, in the lowest place in the prison. They're chained to the floor, and they begin to sing praises. You know, the big question I have about this was the 10 lepers obviously had faith enough in Jesus to go to him, but were they celebrating even in their disease? You know, were they like Paul and Silas, where they were, even if God doesn't free us, we're going to celebrate? Yeah. Even in the darkest pit of our life, we're still going to celebrate and worship him. And that's a really big, important lesson to learn in this as well.
It's kind of the Job question, right? Yeah. I mean, the whole point of Job was even in his absolute misery, he wouldn't turn away from God.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, I think the lesson there for all of us is to ask, what's your center?
Yeah.
You know, because we've talked about it a lot in a lot of the Bible studies around here recently. You know, when you're saved, things doesn't suddenly get rosy and, you know, everything is suddenly wonderful. What do you do with that?
Sometimes it gets worse. Yeah. Sometimes it gets much worse.
But what do you do with that?
Yeah. How do you handle that? Do you go back to God and say, man, even in this, even so, even though this trial is here,
That Mercy Me song.
yeah, that Mercy Me song. Yeah, you want to sing it?
Not able to lyrics. We got gratitude literature though.
Yeah, I mean, there's this important moment where in our spiritual maturity, we have to come to this point that we realize that God isn't a genie that we could just rub the lamp and get something from him and expect to be rich and have health and have all the things that we ask him for, but to realize that his will for us and his desire for us is far greater than our own desires, and he is working all things for the good of those who love him. Yeah. And even in the midst of trouble, even in the midst of suffering, even in the midst of leprosy, God has a purpose and God has a plan, just like he did with this one man that we don't get his name. We don't know who he is. He's just a random Samaritan guy that got leprosy. But here, his story stands for over 2,000 years to show us not just the ability of Jesus, but what saves us through faith. And that's a beautiful thing. Do you want to read the lyrics to Gratitude, or you just want to sing it to us, or you brought it up?
Thought about it, but like,
Yeah. You got a great singing voice, man.
I'm very poor.
So what are you grateful for, guys? Has God done something amazing in your life? Has he healed you? Has he healed a relationship? Has he stepped in a way that it can only be described as miraculous? So let us know, man. We'd love to hear those stories and celebrate with you. But the bigger question is how are you showing in gratitude in the good and the bad in life? Are you?
First, you have blessed you. How are you been? How are you? How are you doing? How are you handling it?
Absolutely. You know, something a few years ago was running media in another church, and we had a commercial come up in the service where this guy woke up out of bed, his alarm went off, and he gets up and he's praying, goes, Lord, help me to be thankful today. I'm struggling to be thankful today. Just help me to be thankful. And he's going through his life, and he's like getting his coffee from Starbucks, and he's driving his car to work for this, you know, nice place, and he's going out with his friends, and he's doing all these things. And then that night he comes back and he sits down on his bed and he goes, Lord, I'm struggling to be thankful. Show me how to be thankful. Right. And it's like, you know, all these things. And I think sometimes it's important for us to just sit down and go, wow. I mean, no matter how bad it gets, there's something to be thankful for.
That's true. That is always true. I mean, even if it's just the breath in your lungs, or the fact that you have time to sit down with a cigar with friends, or the time in your life to get some of those things right that have been wrong, to spend time rebuilding relationships, to spend time looking for a new job, to spend time doing whatever. And that's important to be grateful for that as well.
Little thing.
The little things, it is. Absolutely. Absolutely. So what are you grateful for? Let us know. We would love this to hear. I'm grateful for this fine Don Pepin Garcia cigar. We're not making fun of the name. Don't get on to us. I absolutely love these cigars. I love the family that makes them. One of my absolute favorite brands is my father's cigars. And these were great. So how are they smoking, gentlemen?
Really? It's fantastic.
Yeah, you're over smoking that one a little bit.
Well, I always do.
You always do, but that's okay. That's how you
Cedar like good cigars, yeah. The cedar kind of mellowed out. You know, it's strong. It's still there.
That's really important to talk about because a lot of times when you have a fine cigar, oftentimes you get those first couple puffs and you realize, oh, I like a cigar. Cigars like the Gallus family cigar from Wart was super cedary at the first and then mellowed very quickly, but it was almost so much that you were like, man, I don't want to smoke this now.
Oh, and sometimes you get those cigars that have that real hit of pepper at the beginning. And if that whole cigar was nothing but pepper, I mean, you didn't wear you out.
Well, and my father's, the Ami Garcia, Connecticut was that way. Those first draw, maybe those first 4 or 5 draws, just were pepper bombs that it mellows out as one of the best Connecticut's on the market right now.
It kind of reminds me, remember the hot balls, you know, when we were growing up, the little cinnamon balls where the cinnamon balls.
Remember
That's
those
what you call them?
back in Virginia?
Yeah, we called them hot balls. Yeah. Anyway,
Good
you know, they're really spicy, you know, but then they get sweet, you know, as you get rid of that cinnamon, and it just makes it better, you know, because you're you know, it's kind of punching you in the face, and then you know.
My first thought was, I'm gonna Beagles hot balls. I said, oh.
Don't do that. We called them atomic candy or atomic balls or atomic whatever. I never was into that because I hate spicy stuff. That was just way too hot.
That's right.
My brother used to make, he's just such a nerdy kid at the time. Love him now. We're going to have a conversation, I know, later because he's going to watch this. But he used to do toothpicks like in cinnamon. He'd put little things all up and then sell them for like $0.25 at school. Yeah. And those were too hot for me. And that's how I was with spices as a kid. But
Those things could get really bad.
and then I married a girl from South Texas and everything's spicy. So, yeah. Great cigar. If you haven't got one, pick up one of these Don Pepin Garcia Vegas Cubanas. And they make them in a couple different sizes. We're smoking them in that Petite Corona. Also love this size. Oh, Nicaragua. Yeah, it is a fantastic Nicaraguan Puro. So yeah, pick one up. What else we got today, guys? Are you going to jump the gun and go first?
I'm gonna mix it up.
Mix it up?
Hey, if you like our channel,
Was that?
and you want to see,
What was that?
you want to see, you know, if you want to be notified, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out. Like the videos, and then tickle that bell icon to be notified when new videos drop.
Yep. So yeah, absolutely.
And if you got any prayer requests, send them to contact cigarchurch@gmail.com or cigarchurch@gmail.com. If you have any other questions, regardless of anything,
Yeah, absolutely. If you still got questions about last week's episode, we'd love to hear them. I'm sure at this point we'll be answering a lot.
we're attention Clay on that.
Attention, Clay. We'll jump into that real good. And
Have a second.
after a Ghost Rider? No. And as always, guys, smoke a fine cigar to the glory of God. We will see you next week.